Last time we saw how to write database table records onto a web page using divs and labels, but supposing we wanted to write our database table records into a different tag, for example, a selection list option. So if we look at the house cell example on this page here, this is going to allow us to insert a comment. Okay, and if you look at the SQL for this, I know it's here somewhere. Here we go, house cell. Okay, if we look at the structure for the comment table, okay, the comment table has two foreign keys. Okay, product ID is primary key from product and customer ID is the primary key from customer. So how do we deal with that? Okay, well essentially what I'm doing here is I am selecting all the products from the product table and I am displaying them in alphabetical order by product name in the option. But not only that, but if what we're interested in is the primary key to allow us to pick one product. So I am using the value of each selectionist option like so. So if we go into there's a value there, there's an option there with a value. Okay, so the first one doesn't have a value because it's not a real option. So you can see value equals 1 for apple loose, value equals 2 bamboo shoots. Okay, if you just try, let's look up number 10. Okay, coffee pot, cafetiere. So if we look at record number 10, okay, there's the primary key, that becomes the value of the option, and then here is the name of it. Okay, like that. Now, okay, so what code do we want? Well, essentially we are going to do a select all, and this time the for each loop is going to basically dump each record one at a time into an option. So if we find, it's going to be new comment 1, here we go. Okay, and this time we only need two fields from the product table. Okay, we just need the product ID, which becomes the value of the option, and then product name, which is what appears on the web page, on the surface of the option, so to speak. Okay, and we are ordering by product name, ascending order, like that. So we have our PHP code, we fetch all records into one queries, and essentially each time we loop through this with our one-dimensional array, we want to write an option. But of course what we should do before we run the query is we should actually create the selection tag, the select tag, right? That's going to be done only once, and we should also write our false helpful option here, which has no value. Okay, and required here means that we can't end up picking that. Okay, so select and the false option, make sure the select is required, and then we've got our PHP, and inside our for loop then we are going to write one option. And then you need to be careful again with the quotation marks. So the value of the option becomes the product ID. Okay, here's the 1D array. That is the name of the field in the database table. And then close the open tag bracket. And then we echo between the opening and closing halves of the option tags the product name. And I will display that. And of course, once we've our PHP done, we then finally need to close our select tag after the for loop. Okay, so select tag, first false option, PHP then run the SQL query into the prepared statement, loop through each individual record and write a HTML option tag, finish our PHP, and then write in the closing select. Okay, another way we could do this is for updating a record. Okay, so the first page in the update, first web page, is going to allow us to pick a record. So that's going to, in this case, it's from the customer table. So we are going to pick, and similarly we use the selection list to pick a customer. Just to show you that. Update customer like that. Okay, so we pick a customer. So in this case, we are writing customer ID as the value of each of these three selection lists. Okay, so we do the usual. This time we have selected a customer. Okay, from that selection list, and we are storing it. Our form is action equals post. Sorry. Method equals post. So that's been stored in one of these associative arrays called $_post. This stores the values of every single form element that has been sent from the previous page. And that represents the name of the form element. Okay, so I want to find out what value has been selected from the selection list called picking customer on the previous page. And that's going to be stored in this PHP variable. What I need to do then is I need to sanitize that. So I need one of these bind value lines. Okay, because I've only got one piece of information from the previous page, I only need one bind value. Okay, what does that mean? The effect of this means I want to select one customer. Okay, so select all fields from that individual record. How do we filter it? Where customer ID equals the sanitized version of what has come from the previous web page. Okay, so let's think about this. Is this a select all, select some, or select one? In this case, it's a select one because the primary key was written into the option on the previous page. So we're just going to use a fetch customer details. Okay, so this time $customer details is only a one-dimensional associative array, not a two-dimensional associative array, because it only has one record. So because of that, I don't need a for each loop. Okay, so what am I doing here? I am writing a form, and I can basically take all the data from each record, each field, and I am just going to echo it to become the value of the particular text box. So for example, let me show you this in action. I am going to pick Joseph Duffy, and let's update this customer data. Okay, and when we do that, we see that the data from each database field is being loaded in here. It's been echoed here as the value of all of these text boxes. Okay, I can't change the primary key. Shouldn't be able to change that. Okay, but I should be able to change the password and so on. So let's change the password to ZZZ. And that's bringing us back home. If I go to customer, if I pick Joseph Duffy again, and you'll see that that change I made has taken place. So just be aware of that. The most common ways to display a record are in a div, in a selection list, one option per record, in a form like this if you want to update, if you're only selecting one record, and for selecting all records, such as we have in index.php. That's the wrong index. I can actually display all the records inside a table, so a HTML table. So there is my select all from customer. And then what I want to do is I want to write a table tag. I want to write the first row, which has got all the heading cells. And then for each record, I want to write a row, HTML table row. Okay, and then for each individual field value, I want to create a table cell. Okay, so each field for each record is in a table cell, each record is in a table row, and all records are in a table tag.